Good evening, everybody. Jeff Rutkowski here. Welcome to tonight's webinar. Very simple title, very simple topic. We're going to hit tonight, but a very powerful one. Simply finding money and finding deals. I think probably are the two most important skill sets to learn as a real estate investor, really as an entrepreneur in general. And once you crack the code on this, it's just game over in business, in real estate investing. Everything else can be learned. Everything else is systems. Everything else is process. So I'm excited to get into that tonight. One of the reasons I believe God put me on this earth is to simply help Christians buy real estate. I love teaching it. I love talking about it. And really, my prayer tonight is that you learn one to two things. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to learn more than one to two things, but that you take one to two things that not do you learn, but you take action on. One of the things, if you're a part of our program, we have on tonight's call, we have many different types of people on tonight's call. We have Kingdom 320 students, members of the program with us tonight. Many of you maybe just follow us on social media or YouTube or whatever it may be, and you're just here to kind of check things out tonight, whatever it may be, whatever brought you here tonight. I welcome you. I'm honored that you're going to spend, 90 minutes of your evening, with us tonight. And I promise to give you my best and make it worth your while. But really what I want you focused on is saying, all right, what is one to two action steps that I can take from tonight's webinar? Through some speaking that I do, just around the country. I've had recently some really awesome conversations with John Maxwell. If anyone's familiar, I'm sure most people are familiar. Just to me, one of the greatest leadership coaches I've ever been around. But I remember reading something years ago, and then recently I was talking to him in South Carolina, I think it was, and he just reminded me of it. And it's so simple and it's so powerful. And I would encourage you actually to do what I'm about to share. And that is the acronym, excuse me, ACT. Anytime you come onto a webinar, anytime you go to church, most of you, hopefully, I highly encourage going to church on Sundays, and you go in there. And so many times we listen to sermons, we listen to webinars, we listen to all of these different things, but we don't necessarily do anything with it. So I encourage you to do these three things tonight. Is as you're listening, I want you to identify ACT, one to two actions that, all right, based on something Jeff said, based on something he taught, based on something I learned, I'm going to take this specific action to move the needle forward in my life. So one to two things you're going to act on. Number two is the C, change. One to two things that you're currently doing that you're going to stop doing. Right. And we all have these things, right? We all have things we know we should be doing that we're not. We all have things we're doing that we probably shouldn't, isn't the best thing, the most healthy thing, whatever it may be. And then number three is teach. What is something that you learn here tonight that you're going to go teach maybe to your children? We're going to be talking about finding deals, how private money works tonight, how to fund real estate transactions without using any of your own money. That is valuable information. I don't know about you, but put in the chat box, who wishes if you could go back in time, think back to when you were in high school. It was a while ago for me, I graduated in 1995. But if you could go back to high school, who wishes there were some classes in there on how to raise money to invest in real estate or how to multiply your wealth, through, real estate or whatever it may be. So to me, I truly believe that we have a responsibility in this life, not just to learn, but to teach the people around us, to teach our children, to teach our communities, to teach our churches, the things that really, change our lives. So with that being said, I'm gonna pull up some slides that I prepared for you guys today, and we're gonna go through just so you have some visuals to what I'm talking about. But I'm going to keep my intro very brief here tonight. But I just do want to take 1 minute because many people here tonight, maybe you're not familiar with Kingdom 320 or myself, Jeff Rutkowski. But Kingdom 320, very simply, we exist. We believe God has called us to help raise an army of Christian entrepreneurs and equip them with the tools that they need to go take territory for the kingdom of God. Plain and simple. And when I say take territory, I mean buy real estate. And I believe one of the most spiritual things a Christian can do, one of the most spiritual things a believer can do, is actually take territory, possess land. Why do you believe that, Jeff? Well, very simply, the earth is the Lord's and we are his kids. And when God's people possess the land, when God's people own, God's creation, we're going to do what's best with it for the world around us, right? And God knows, and the enemy knows as well, that whoever owns the most real estate historically, always creates the most wealth. Whoever owns the most real estate historically, always has the most impact because of the wealth that they're able to generate. And those who own the most real estate also decide what happens or what does not happen on that land. I see Ron Larson says, if we don't buy it, the Chinese will. Well, I have nothing against the Chinese, but I don't like the Chinese government, and they are buying a lot of real estate in the United States of America at a very alarming rate. So anyways, that's a whole nother topic that I won't get in. But the bottom line is I believe God is looking to shift wealth and to shift real estate into the hands of his people. And the only thing stopping us is the knowledge. That's all that it is. And the Bible tells us very clearly that God's people, that people perish for a lack of knowledge, right? And I know just from, the type of people that we attract, I'm sure pretty much, if not everybody on tonight's call, you love the Lord, you believe in God, you want to accomplish his purpose for your life, you want to create wealth to have an impact on the world around you, you want to create wealth to leave more wealth for your future generations, whatever it may be. And I'm telling you, the only thing missing is the knowledge. So I'm excited to play a part of that journey. Really, first and foremost, you see my family here on the screen. That's my wife, Claudia, of 19 years, and my older daughter, Juliana, is 17 years old. My younger daughter, Ava, is 14. That picture is actually a little old. I need to update it. Maybe that's about 1 or 2 years old. They're a little bigger now. But yeah, first and foremost, I'm a father and husband to these beautiful ladies that you see on the screen. I had the proud honor and privilege of serving the greatest country on planet Earth in the U.S. Navy. And I've been investing in real estate since 2004. It's really all I know, to be honest with you. It's just at a very young age, God just put a passion in my heart for real estate. I will never stop investing in real estate. Actually, I tell my students the day I stop investing in real estate is the day I'll stop teaching real estate. I don't believe in teaching anything that you're not doing yourself actively. So myself and my partners, we own properties, well over 2,000 doors now across 10 different markets all over the country. Had the opportunity to be featured on A&E's Flip This House on one occasion. That was a lot of fun. And been training and coaching real estate investors really since 2014. So you can see here, I see we got Mark, we got a Marine in the house, Mark Wattenberg. Thank you for your service, my friend. But as you can see here on the screen, these pictures really represent my life. If you know me, my life is about my family. It's about real estate, and it's about equipping others, to buy real estate and invest in real estate God's way. You see my family up here in the top middle. This was us doing a little demo together. Families that demo together stay together, by the way. Here's my family in the lower right, just a little vacation we took recently and a place that we love to go every year. And Top left was actually just spending a weekend with 50 of my students and just going into homes and teaching them how to estimate repairs and things along those lines. Here's me and my wife in the bottom left, just leading a service at our church. And actually here in the bottom middle, this is actually me teaching wholesaling. Somebody was asking about wholesaling earlier, but teaching wholesaling to a church in Utah. I forget where in Utah, but it was somewhere, Salt Lake City, Utah. And the top right is me and my partners. We acquired a 982 unit building in Brandon, Florida, maybe about 4 or 5 months ago. And it's a picture of me and my team walking the properties. So I started investing in real estate in 2004. Started coaching and training in 2014. And I spent from about 2014 to 2021 training in the secular world, training for an incredible company, my mentor's company, but it was a secular company. I learned a lot, but as I grew in my relationship with the Lord, I began to see and I began to realize that, man, God has a lot to say in the Bible about real estate, and all of that. And I'm like, I want it to be free to do it God's way. And I remember one day, God speaking to me, and I'll end with this, is this scripture came to my mind. And where in Deuteronomy 8:18, it says, "You shall remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you the power to get wealth, that he may establish his covenant on the earth." And to me, this scripture, I've been studying this scripture for easily 10 years. And it's amazing how over the years, God continues to give me more insight. But the thing is this, is if you're a believer, if you believe, you say, Jesus is my Savior, Jesus is my Lord, I am a Christian, I believe I'm an ambassador here on earth to represent his kingdom, then, we have to understand, all right, what is our purpose here? And first of all, God gives us the power to create wealth. Somebody's telling me to stop using Jesus for profit. That's not what I'm doing, my friend. It says right in the Bible that Jesus gave us the power to create wealth. It's right there, right? I mean, you could look it up in the Bible. But the thing is this, is I see so many believers that love the Lord. They're going to heaven. They're incredible people, but they struggle on the earth financially in many other ways because they don't understand, first of all, they have this power, and they don't understand, secondly, how to use the power, right? So first of all, God, many people still say, Jeff, money's evil, and, you shouldn't be talking about the Bible to teach people real estate. But what I've learned is everything is spiritual. Our work, God called me to be a real estate investor. He hasn't called me to be a missionary, for instance. But my calling as a real estate investor, I believe in God's eyes, is just as important as the one that he calls to be a missionary. So first of all, wealth is not evil. Why would God give us power to create something that would hurt us or is bad, right? So he gives us that power. But the true question is, why did he give us that power? And it's right there at the back half of the scripture, my friends, that he may establish his covenant on the earth. We are his hands and feet. So what does it mean to establish God's covenant on this earth as it pertains to generating wealth? Because that's what the scripture is talking about, right? Well, I've learned it means three things. I've learned number one is establishing God's covenant on this earth as it pertains to wealth is number one, providing for our families. I see too many Christians struggling financially, really no different than the world in many cases. And one of the distinctions that we should have as God's children is that we live in abundance, not just financially, of course, in all areas of life, right? If we have a ton of money, but our heart is empty and we have no love, we have no fruits of the Spirit, obviously that's not a good thing. But first and foremost, God wants us to provide for our families. That's part of establishing his covenant on this earth, by the way. So don't ever be ashamed to buy nice things for your family, to get a nice vacation home, whatever that may be. God wants us to provide for our families. But also he wants us thinking and providing for future generations. And to me, the real estate is the best way financially to provide for future generations. Nothing creates more wealth. Real estate has created almost 75% of all the millionaires currently in the United States of America. And then last but not least is he wants us to provide for our families, provide for future generations, but then number three, promote his kingdom on this earth. And I really believe, I started as a real estate investor, and I will never stop investing in real estate. God used real estate in my life to give me a level of financial freedom, to give me a level of abundance, and then to set up to actually have a plan in place on how I'm going to provide financially for future generations. But then number three is he put on my heart Kingdom 320 as the way I believe he wants to use me to promote his kingdom on this earth. And that's what I'm excited about. So tonight, as a real estate investor, if you're brand new to real estate, first of all, I applaud you for being on here. If you are an experienced investor and you're doing deals and you own properties, I applaud you for being on here. Because what I've learned is the more we learn, the more we grow, the more impact that we have, and the more wealth that we ultimately end up creating. And then we could do, good things with that wealth, of course. So, but really, rehabbing a property, for instance, there's systems, there's checklists that we could follow, hiring the right contractor, wholesaling. But when I look at the business and I say, man, what are the two most important parts of the business, the technical side of it? It's very simple. It's learning how to find the money to do the deals. And then it's learning how to, number two, find the deals. How many of you in the chat box, you at one point in your life, you're like, man, I would have loved to invest in real estate. Or even maybe right now, I'd love to invest in real estate, but I just don't have the capital, or I don't have the money for the down payment. Or maybe you have the money, but you're like, I don't know how to find the deals, that type of thing. And what I'm hoping to open your eyes to tonight is that, first of all, even if you have your own money to invest in real estate, I don't necessarily recommend that you use it. What I'm going to introduce you to tonight is something called asset-based lending. And if you're not familiar with this, I'm going to open your eyes up to a world of lenders that are ready, willing, and able to loan you the money to buy real estate if you're able to find real estate that meets their criteria, plain and simple. And then I'm going to show you some really easy ways that you can implement to start finding deals right now. Some literally just by picking up the phone, another just by, just jumping onto the right technology. But first, just because this is a Christian audience mostly, and if you're not a Christian, by the way, I welcome you. I welcome you. I'm not trying to force, my religion or my beliefs down anybody's throat, but at the same token, I do believe in them, so I'm going to be who God created me to be. I'm going to talk freely about Jesus. I'm going to talk freely about what his word says as it pertains to real estate. And that's the perspective, and that's the lens that we teach from at Kingdom 320. Because ultimately, we want to do it God's way. What good is it if we gain the whole world, right, and lose our soul? To me, there's a godly way of investing in real estate, and there's an ungodly way of doing it. But the good thing is God's word is very clear on how we should do it. But just because this is a Christian audience, I still have a lot of people that challenge me and say, Jeff, well, I agree with you. Buying real estate is a good thing. But I don't agree with you that going into debt to buy real estate is a good thing. So go ahead and put in the chat box, who thinks debt is good? Just type good if you think it's good. Type bad if you think it's bad. I just want to know what I'm working with here tonight. I see lots of goods. I see money is bad. Okay, I bet bad. I see good. I see both. I see it depends. Okay, well, I would agree with a lot of you are saying it depends and it can be both. I would agree with that. Is it good or bad? And that's one of the things that you're going to have to decide. Now, to me, debt is just like fire. Fire can save a life or fire could take a life. It all comes down to how you use the fire. Now, when we think of debt, most of us have been taught our entire lives to stay out of debt. To stay out of debt because it's bad, and pay off your bills, cut up your credit cards, and save your way to retirement. That's what most people are taught in our culture. But one of the things that I learned is that one of the greatest tools that we have in the United States of America, uh, James says, Dave Ramsey students just say yes. I love Dave Ramsey. I mean, I have so much respect for what he built. Um, but he is very like, stay out of debt, cut up your credit cards, don't get into it. And I do believe that's good advice when it comes to like personal finances. Like me personally, I'm not going to go into debt to take my family on vacation. I'm not going to go to debt. My daughter wanted to join the wrestling team here in Eagle, Idaho, believe it or not. It's $400, right? I wrote a check for it. I'm not going to go into debt for stuff like that. But when it comes to investing in real estate, I want to go into as much debt as I possibly can because it is one of the greatest accelerators of wealth in the United States of America. And I do believe that God is okay with it. You know, some people say, well, Jeff, the Bible says we're supposed to be the lender, not the borrower. So I just can't get behind that philosophy. Well, it is true. The Bible does say that God wants us to be positioned to be the lender and not the borrower. But what if leveraging others people's money is a way of putting ourselves in that position? That's the case that I'm going to try to present to you guys tonight. But the one thing I want you to know about other people's money and raising money is that ultimately it's not the cost of the money that's important. I'm going to show you some ways of raising money tonight that you'll pay 10% interest, sometimes even higher than 10% interest. And a lot of people just can't get past that. That's crazy. That's ridiculous. I would never pay 10% interest or even more than that. But the thing that you have to learn as a real estate investor, it's not the cost of money that's the most important. It's the availability that is really the vital piece. So let me ask you this question here is if you have an opportunity to renovate a property, flip the property within 6 months, you see, all right, I could make 40 grand. You think the potential profit is $40,000. But the only money you have available to do the deal is 10% interest. Would you do the deal? Well, it's an easy question, right? It's an easy question. Of course we are. So it's not the cost that is the most important, it's the availability. So as we said, you know, just to with our emails and everything to get you here tonight, is we wanted to introduce you into sources of other people's money, sources of raising other people's money. And these are all, everything you see on the screen is asset-based lenders. And that's very important verbiage because most people think when they think of borrowing money to buy real estate, they think of sitting down with a mortgage broker. They think of walking into Bank of America, applying for a loan, and going through that process. If you have ever bought your own home, you likely went through a process just like that. Now, that's good. That's a good process to go through if you're buying your own home. But when it comes to investing in real estate, we don't want to use that process. Banks are too slow, and there's too much red tape. There's too many boxes that we have to check. They want to see credit scores at a certain level. They want to see debt to income ratios at a certain level, and all of that. And like Eric Davis said, they're just slow. They don't move quick enough. So what you see here on the screen, and again, I'm not going to go through all of these. There's a couple I want to hit, but these are asset-based lenders. Now, you see them here on the screen, but I want to show them to you a different way. Of all the sources that you see on the screen here, put in the chat box, which source do you think is the least expensive money to borrow? Put in what you think is the least expensive, and put in there what you think is the most expensive. Hard money lenders, rehab lenders. And if you don't know what these things are yet, don't worry about it. I'm going to unpack them. I see private money, Eric says, could be the least. Sub 2 could be the least. 0% credit cards. There you go. Credit cards with 0% interest. Owner financing. Some of you got it right. Some of you very close. Let me show it to you this way, and then I'll kind of I'll teach some of this stuff as I go through as well. But the least inexpensive form of capital to borrow actually has been, for me over the years, has been credit cards. Now, credit cards aren't always the least inexpensive way of raising capital, but many times credit cards will offer 0% financing. Who's ever received, in the mail from your credit cards, those balance transfer checks, or a 6 month or a 12 month, 0% promotion, right? It doesn't always happen. Now, over the years, one of the things I've told you, um, I have credit cards with $50,000 limits, and, limits a little higher, limits a little bit lower. So typically the limit on a credit card isn't enough just to buy an entire house. But many times I've been able to use the credit cards to finance the rehab costs for a particular project that I was looking at. So please don't cut up your credit cards, uh, but learn how to use them responsibly, to where you're using them in a way that's going to make you money, not just get you into bad debt. Because as we spoke about a moment ago, debt, can be bad. So one of the things that I do, with all of my business credit cards and even my personal credit cards, is that at least twice per year, I'll call all the credit card companies that I have, and I'll ask them three things. I'll say, hey, would you increase my line of credit? Number one. Number two, would you decrease my interest rate? And then number three, would you increase my balance transfer capability? So let me say that again. Would you increase my balance transfer capability? Because many times credit card, let's just say you have a credit card with a $50,000 credit limit. So you could go swipe that credit card and, use up to $50,000. But a lot of banks will say, all right, but you could use the balance transfer check for only $10,000 or whatever it is. But you can ask them to increase that. So I always call them. I say, hey, would you increase my line of credit? Would you decrease my interest rate? And will you increase my balance transfer capability? And, most of the time they'll say yes. Sometimes they increase it a little. Sometimes they increase it a lot. But this is just good. So what you're doing is you're just by doing this exercise, year over year, over time, you're getting better rates and you're getting higher limits on the card. And as you use those cards responsibly, and all of that stuff, then the banks start sending you promotions. And then doing those things, it could also, as Jason Cunningham is pointing out, it also, raises your credit score as well, just because you're decreasing your debt to income ratio by doing that. So that's it. So to me, those are no-brainers. So, but like I said, are you typically going to be able to go buy a piece of real estate just with a credit card? No. But can you cover rehab costs on a lot of projects at 0% interest? The answer is 100% yes, just because I've done it myself. So credit cards can be the least expensive. Number two is going to be assumable loans or subject to deals or subject to loans. Now, again, I'm introducing you here. I would need a whole 90 minutes just to teach you sub two. But let me just, kind of give you some overviews here. How many people think like, oh man, interest rates just a few years ago were 2-3%. Now they're 6.5, 7%. I totally missed it. I wish I could go back in time and get a mortgage for 2.5%. Does anybody wish that, or has anybody thought that? Like, man, I kind of missed the boat on that. If you didn't buy properties, during COVID, well, most people just cry about it and think they missed the opportunity. Most people don't understand that we can go back in time, and we can get those loans. We can't walk into a bank and get them, but we can assume them from people that have them currently, and we could buy properties subject to properties that have low interest rates loan. Now, there is a difference between assumable and subject to financing. Let me start with assumable. What assumable means is, let's just see, I see James Terry is in the chat box. So let's just say, as an example, James Terry, he owns a property in Florida, and he's got a loan on that property from Bank of America for $500,000. So I would go, if I put a deal together on James's house, I would be going to Bank of America and saying, hey, Bank of America, here's Jason. He's selling me this house. I want to assume the loan from Jason, meaning we want the loan to stay in place. We want the interest rate to remain the same and all of that. But James, his name is going to come off of the loan. My name is going to go on the loan. So basically, the loan is being transferred out of the seller's name into my name. Now, what a lot of people don't realize, one out of every four government-backed loans are assumable. And we have software and we have technology where you could look at any market and you could say, hey, software, show me a list of all the loans that are assumable. And then you could reach out to those people specifically. This is a great way, for instance, if you're looking to buy your own home. Look, if you know the areas that you're looking in, look specifically at the properties that have assumable mortgages on it, and then go after it in that fashion. Because the difference on a monthly payment, if you're living in a piece of real estate, like a $200,000 loan at 2% is a totally different monthly payment than a $200,000 loan at a 6% mortgage, right? So it's very, very different. So that is one thing that we want to be aware of. One out of every four government-backed loans are assumable. So if somebody got a 2.5% loan in 2021, you can assume it and step into that interest rate for the remaining life of that loan. Also, subject to deals are very, very similar to assumable loans, but different in the sense that we're not taking over the mortgage. So using James Terry as an example again, if I find a property that he owns and he owes Bank of America $500,000 and I want to buy the property for $600,000, let's say, then I could buy that property subject to that loan remaining on the property in James's name. So I don't assume it. My name doesn't go on the loan. I just take over the payments for James. So what that does for a real estate investor is, in that example that I just used, if I want to buy a house for $600,000 and there's a $500,000 loan that I could structure in a sub-2 deal, then that means now in order to buy that property, I only need to raise $100,000 versus raising $600,000 because I'll keep that first mortgage on there in James's name. I'll take over the payments as I'm rehabbing the property. And then when I sell the property, that loan is paid off. Or if I fix up the property and I want to keep it as a rental property, then I could refinance out and then pay back that loan as well. Now, like I said, subject to loans and assumable mortgages are, to me, probably in the top two opportunities right now for real estate investors. Just because there are almost half of all loans in America right now, actually more than half, it's about 64% of all loans in America have a mortgage that is below 4% on it. So this is one of the things that we want to look at. Instead of raising money at 10% interest, why don't we just assume a loan at 2.5 or structure a deal with subject to financing? Who likes the sound of that? Who just learned something right there? 1 out of 4 government-backed loans are assumable, right? And again, this is just knowledge, and it's just knowing where the lists are, knowing how to have these conversations, and all of that. So credit cards, I would say, can be the cheapest, but assumable and subject to loans, one of the biggest opportunities right now for residential real estate redevelopers in our country. Number 3, I would say, is home equity loans and traditional bank financing. Now, remember I just made fun of banks a moment ago, and I said they're too slow. So these are the slow banks right here. Now, and in most cases, we're not using traditional bank financing, and we're not using equity loans, actually equity loans we would use, but most of the time we're not using traditional bank loans to buy a fix and flip, right? Traditional bank loans are good for once a property is stabilized, it's cash flowing, and we want to put long-term debt on that property at a low interest rate. But for a wholesaler, for a rehabber, for a BRRRR strategy, we're not initially buying the property with bank financing. But as we grow our rental portfolio, which I highly encourage, I love teaching people how to wholesale properties. I love teaching people how to flip properties. But nothing gets me more excited than teaching people how to take territory and own properties long term. And long term ownership, typically you want to have traditional or commercial debt on the loans. Now, home equity lines of credit can be very powerful to buy properties quickly, but you just have to have them set up in advance. So if you have equity, if you own a home and you have equity in that home, then you can pull in what's called a HELOC, a home equity line of credit, and you could pull out the equity of your home and give yourself what's called checkbook control. A lot of banks today just give you like debit cards. So let's just say you own a property, your property's worth $500,000 and you have a mortgage for $200,000. So put in the chat box, how much equity do you have? You own a house that's worth 500,000. You have a mortgage that is 200,000, right? How much equity do you have? Will, you got it, 300,000, right? Now, banks will typically loan you at least 80% on your primary residence. So that means if you own a home that's worth 500,000 and you have a mortgage for 200,000, you could pull a home equity line of credit for another $200,000. Now, exactly, George nailed it. Now, when you set up a line of credit, what's great about it is you don't have to pay interest on the loan until you start using the loan. So that's what I mean by checkbook control or having a debit card for that equity. So you could set up a home equity line of credit in this example for $200,000 and have $200,000 ready to go at moment's notice. Then you find a good rehab deal or whatever it may be, and you just write yourself a check off your home equity line, or you just swipe your card off your home equity line. And now maybe that home equity line is 6.5%, but you're going to leverage that money for 4 to 6 months, make a potential profit of 30, 40, 50K, whatever it is. And then you just pay back your equity loan. So really, what real estate is, it's learning how to become the bank. It's really, if you go to any major city across the United States of America, banks always have the biggest, nicest buildings. And that's because banks know how to use and they know how to grow money. What I'm preaching constantly to my Kingdom 320 students is, hey, let's become the bank ourselves. Let's borrow money at low interest rates. Let's lend it at high interest rates. I just talked a moment ago about, the credit cards, the 0% transfer checks. You know what I'll do with those checks is I've done this many times in the past. If I get a 0% promotion from a credit card, like 0% for a year, I'll pull as much money as I can out at the 0%, and I'll lend that money at 12%, and I'll make the spread. If I don't have a good opportunity to lend it, I'll stick it in certain banks that give you 5.5%, and I'll make the spread there. So we want to learn to start thinking like that. Because the thing is this: if you read the Bible, which we encourage, and you read the parable of the talents in Luke and Matthew, it shows us very clearly that faithfulness with our finances equals multiplication. It's very hard to look at a person from the outside and judge and say they're faithful to God or not. I can't judge a person's heart, right? We could all show up in church, put on our Sunday's best, put a big smile, and we could look the part, but nobody knows our heart. Only God does, right? But when it comes to finances, it's very easy to determine if we're being faithful. We look at our finances and we say, okay, are my finances multiplying? And if so, we're being faithful with those finances. If they're not multiplying, then we're not. And then we need to learn how to, right? So that is what it's all about. It's learning how to be faithful with what God puts in our hands. And the thing is this, guys, is that wealth is not created overnight. Nobody on tonight's call is going to be a millionaire tomorrow unless you're a millionaire right now. God's principles are God's principles, and he tells us when we're faithful with the little, he brings increase. It's one of the first things we do with our Kingdom 320 students. We talk about, all right, what is in your hand? And how can we be faithful with that? Many students come into our program and they don't even, they own a house free and clear. And they never even thought of the fact that they could pull equity from that and actually turn the house that they're living in into another stream of income. Or they have retirement accounts that they just think, oh, I can't touch that retirement account until I'm 65 years old. But we teach our students, hey, let's show you how to self-direct that retirement account so you can start using that right now and creating wealth in real estate. Again, it's just knowledge is all it is. So next on the list would be owner financing. Now, owner financing typically, the rates could be anything that you negotiate. So I've had owner financing that is much lower on this little chart that I'm showing you. But typically, owner financing is going to be whatever traditional bank rates are, plus about a point. So if traditional bank rates right now are 6.5%, owner financing will be around 7.5%. But that's typical, but it really comes down to whatever you can negotiate. So now, right now in America, about 33% of all homes in America are owned free and clear, meaning there's no mortgage on them. So when somebody's selling a home that they own for a very long time and they have no mortgage, all they're gonna get is profit. Now, most people, well, what's wrong with that, Jeff? Profit's good. Yes, profit is good, but do we have to pay taxes on profit in the United States of America? Do we have to pay taxes? Yes or no? The answer is yes, right? Marisol got it. Now, are their taxes low or are taxes high? Capital gain taxes in our country are very, very high. So owner financing is a way of actually getting the seller that you're buying a house from. Think about this, because I always say it this way, and always people think it's funny, but this is exactly what happens. You find a house that's owned free and clear. You make an offer to buy the house, and then you get the person selling you the house to loan you the money to buy the house from them. And a lot of people laugh when I say that because they're like, you're buying the house from them. Why would they loan you the money? It happens all the time because if a seller is able to structure owner financing, let's just say you're buying a house from them for 500,000 and they give you an owner financing loan of 400,000. Now they're only paying taxes on $100,000 profit, not $500,000 profit. And they're turning that other $400,000 into an income stream. And then it also helps us as a real estate investor because we're getting the house financed without having to use any of our own money. Again, just education. This is the type of stuff that we really dive into in great detail in our program, because once you understand this stuff and once you structure, even just one or two deals this way and your confidence goes through the roof, then it's just rinse and repeat. It's doing it over and over and over again. And then we have private money lenders, and I'm going to unpack that a little bit more. I love private money lenders, and all of you right now, you talk to private money lenders every single day of your life, and you don't even know they're private money lenders. A lot of times, they don't even know they're private money lenders. We haven't activated it yet, so you see what I mean by that in a while. So I'm gonna come back to that one. But typically, private money is going to be anywhere in the range of about 8 to 12% interest. 8 to 12% interest. And remember, it's not the cost of money that's the most important thing. It's the availability of the money that's the most important thing. And then we have credit cards again, because obviously credit cards are always doing 0% promotions, but we could still use them. Let's just say you find a property and you get 80% of the money you need to buy the property covered by a hard money lender. We have gap financing that we need, or maybe just rehab costs. And oftentimes credit cards could cover that, even if it's 12% on a credit card or 14%, as long as we factor that interest into when we're evaluating the property, we factor that interest in, and then the numbers still pencil out. I would never tell anybody what to do with their money or anyone what to do with their credit card. But as for me and my house, I would use it as long as the math works and as long as there's going to be a profit at the end of the deal. And then second to last, we have rehab lenders and we have hard money lenders. Now, hard money lenders, Eric is asking a good place to find hard money lender. Eric, go on to Google and whatever city you live in, Eric, just type hard money lenders and then your city name, and I guarantee at least 3 to 5 will pop up. Because hard money lenders are businesses. Private money lenders are regular individuals that loan money. But hard money lenders are folks that are in the business. They're not banks, but they are in the business of loaning money. So so hard money lenders typically is almost the most expensive, but the most expensive form of financing actually is money partners, or also known as joint venturing. Now, one of the things we actually just had one yesterday in our community. We had two students that partnered together. One had the deal, one brought the money. And I love seeing that happens. I love when two Christian companies come together and they're both benefiting. And typically the deals will be split 50-50. And a lot of people think, well, that's a great thing. I found the deal, they have the money. I'll give them 50% of the profit. And that's fine. Let's just say like the student that was doing this yesterday, it was their very first deal that they ever did. And they had the money, but they wanted to partner with an experienced investor to kind of hold their hand on the first deal. So it could be very good. I see Tom saying is some of this is over my head. Tom, that's actually a good thing. I forgot, I usually say this at the beginning of the call, is one of the things I intentionally do is overwhelm people a little bit. And the reason for that is because I actually believe overwhelm is a good thing. Like when you go to the gym and you have a tough workout, you're overwhelming your muscles and they're growing back stronger. Now, Tom, I promise you, at the end, I'm not going to leave you feeling that way. We'll help everybody get clear on next steps and all of that. But I love the fact that you put yourself in an environment like this and you're catching some of the stuff, some of it's going over your head, but that's okay. That's how you learn, that's how you grow. So I appreciate you being here. So what you see here on the screen is, like I said, tonight we're going to introduce you to multiple different ways. Put in the chat box before tonight's webinar, who wasn't aware of one of these ways. Maybe you didn't know you could assume loans. Maybe it was, owner financing, whatever it was. So again, and think about what I said at the beginning. What is one action you're going to take? What is one change you're going to make? What is one thing that you're going to teach? Be on the lookout for that stuff. But as real estate investors, now if you're a brand new real estate investor, maybe you've never done a deal before. Brand new real estate investors can get money partners very easily if you know where to find them. Can get hard money loans and rehab loans very, very easily because, again, these are asset-based lenders. And the big difference between asset-based lenders and regular banks is asset-based lenders, they lend the money on the power of the asset, not your personal finances necessarily, right? And then private money lenders, if you know where to find them and you know how to speak their language and you know how to present to them, God, it's a total game changer. So as real estate investors, we're always looking to source cheaper capital. When I started as a fix and flipper back in 04 or 05, I was using primarily just hard money lenders and I was partnering with people. And then I learned private money lender. But let me show you an example here on the screen. Some of you guys, if you think 10% interest is a lot of interest, you're gonna be stunned when I tell you what I'm about to tell you. When I started investing in real estate, I was borrowing money from hard money lenders at 15% interest and 5 points. If you don't know what a point is 1% of the money that you're borrowing. So I was borrowing about $200,000 per deal. Pay attention to the screen here for a moment. I would borrow 200,000 at 15%. So that means, if I held the money for 6 months, I'd pay $15,000 in interest. And I pay 5 points on the purchase. So that was $10,000. So over a 6 month period, I would borrow $200,000 for 6 months and I pay $25,000. Now I see some people in the chat boxes like, that's crazy. Well, on all those deals, I was averaging about $35,000 in profit at the time. So if you had the opportunity, you knew how to evaluate the deals, you know how to manage the rehabs, you know how to found, good contractors, who would be willing even to borrow money at 15% and 5 points if there really was a profit at the other end of it. So that's the way that I looked at it. But when my mentor taught me how to raise private money, check this out on the right-hand side of the screen. That same $200,000, 10% interest. Private money, 99% of the time, you're not paying any points. So just by learning that one strategy, I was able to decrease my cost of capital by $15,000. So that's an extra $15,000 that I just made. Now, on private money, as I said, typically the rates range between 8 and 12%, but it's whatever you can negotiate. First or second lien positions. If you don't know what that means, I'm going to show an illustration in a moment. Typically, there's 6 to 12-month loans. So within the 6 or 12 months, you're either buying the property as a wholesaler and then you're reselling the property as is if you're double closing, or you're fixing it up as a rehabber and then you're selling it, or you're fixing it up as a buy and hold investor, and then within 6 to 12 months, you're refinancing out of the hard money into a traditional loan. And then you have key documents that are recorded. Now, if anybody on this call, if you happen to be a private money lender or you want to be a private money lender, I do private money lending all the time. Private money lending is one of the easiest ways of investing in real estate, where basically you just put up the money and you let another investor take all the risk and do all the work, right? And you're just making interest on your money. But if you do want to loan money, don't ever loan it without getting these 3 to 4 documents that you see on the screen. Is when you loan money, and I've seen a lot of inexperienced investors loan money and get ripped off. And typically they don't do the proper paperwork. So whenever you loan money, you want a mortgage or a trust deed. Just like when you went and you bought a property that you live in right now with Bank of America or whoever it may be. That is good, but you gave them a mortgage, you gave them a lien on the property. So we want to do the same thing. Remember, we're becoming the bank. So if you want to lend your money, I'm going on a little tangent here because I want to make sure I protect anybody that wants to loan money or is loaning money. Because I've learned some of these lessons the hard way. So we always get a lien on the property. We always get hazard insurance. So whoever owns the property will list the private money lender as an additionally insured person. And if the property burns down or something, then your money's still protected. And then you get a promissory note from the person the company that's borrowing the money. And then in some cases, you even get a personal guarantee from the owner of the company. So again, those are the 4 things. Now, let me just give you a visual on how funding deals works. Is you see on the screen 0 to $400,000, right? So let's just say as a real estate investor, you find a deal, you evaluate it, and you determine that after you fix it up, it'll be worth $400,000. And you want to raise money to do it. Let's just say you raise $275,000 from a hard money lender. Let's just say a hard money lender gives you $275,000 at 15% interest. They get a first position lien. So that means when you sell the property by law, that hard money lender has to be paid back their $275,000 plus interest. But let's just say you needed $275,000 to buy the property, but you need $50,000 to fix up the property. And you borrow that $50,000 from a private money lender. You also give them the same documentation. They get a loan on the property, they get listed as an additionally insured, et cetera, and they get a second lien position. Now, when the property is sold by law, the first position gets paid off first, plus their interest, and then the second one gets paid off second, plus their interest. And in this scenario, then you, the investor, there's a potential $75,000 in equity. And then so $75, 75,000 minus all your closing costs, minus the cost of money, minus real estate commissions, whatever it may be, would be your profit. So private money lenders are out there and they're all around you, whether you realize it or not. The first three people I borrowed private money lender from, one was a realtor that I worked with, one was a guy I met at the gym, and one was a family member where I just approached them, and my mentor taught me how to approach them, how to speak their language, how to give them the proper presentation, and I would turn people into private money lenders. And everybody knows them, everybody works with them, everybody has them in their family where they have money in savings, or they have a home equity line of credit, or they have personal or business lines of credit. They have liquidated securities, or they even have a self-directed retirement account where you can teach people how to self-direct their retirement accounts, and then essentially lend it to you as a private money lender. So again, I just want to, again, I want my goal here is to open your eyes, introduce you to some things. This slide right here is the process of, private money lending. And we literally have a class where we spend a whole entire day with our students just teaching really this one slide. So I can't go into it in detail, but step one, we find the lenders. We have software where we can pull a list of lenders in our market, but as I said, they're also all around you. They're people that you work with. They're people, friends, they're family members, right? So first we have to learn how to find them. Then we have to know how to present the opportunity to them. And then when we present the opportunity to them, they're not going to say, okay, well, we like what you have to say. Here's $500,000. Go find a property. What they're going to say is, man, we're really excited. We'd love the opportunity to lend money. And then we're going to say, great. We're making offers on a weekly basis, and as soon as we have our next deal ready to go, we'll come present it to you, and we'll get your money working for you, right? So first we locate the lenders. Second, we learn how to present the opportunity, and then once we secure lenders, then we go looking for deals, and then because now. If somebody forced me to say, Jeff, if you're just starting out, if you could only have a deal or you could only have the money, what would it be? I would say, give me the deal. Because if it's a good deal, I'll find the money very quickly. But one of the things I like to teach our students is I want our students investing from a position of strength. So take the time to learn these things. Take the time to learn how to locate lenders, how to present the opportunities to them, get your cash lined up from other people, and then go out there and start making offers on deals. So one is we find a deal. Two is we present the opportunity. Three, one is we find the lenders. Two, we present the opportunity. Three is we find the deal. Then we borrow the money. We sign the documents that I mentioned a moment ago. Then we go wholesale, rehab, whatever our exit strategy is. And then we pay back our lender. So again, we give our students many resources. You see, here's a screenshot to our membership site. We have something called the Investor Toolbox that has incredible tools. But one of the things I use very commonly with is credibility packets. They're about 12-page packets that we prepare for you, and our students just put their company name and logo on there. And they're informational brochures, essentially, that we email out to potential lenders. And then we take them through the process, that I laid here on the screen. We even have templates that we create for our students where we actually show them how to sit down and give the presentation to potential lenders, pull up their slides, go through it, whatever it may be. We talk to them about how to build rapport, what an intent statement, what an agenda is, how to speak the language of the investor, how to build credibility. Because there's a lot of stuff here on the screen, and I don't have time to go into all of it. Like I said, it would take me a whole day. But when you're when you're looking to borrow money from someone as a real estate investor, there's three things that you want to be able to communicate. One is you want to communicate, I'm a person just like you. I'm not a big bank. I'm not a big, investor. I'm a regular person. I rehab homes in this community, and I'm looking to borrow the money to help you earn more money and improve our community, right? They want to know they're a person. You want to create connections on a personal level. Because the thing is this, nobody does business with somebody that they don't like, right? So we want to be able to connect with people and come off as likable, come off as trustworthy. I mean, we should be likable, we should be trustworthy. We're Christians, so that shouldn't be difficult. We should just be able to act, be ourselves and create connections. But they want to know we're a person just like them. But just because they like us doesn't mean they're going to lend us the money. So they want to understand that we know what we're doing. We know how to talk the language, right? And then after they feel like, okay, we like this person, they know what they're doing, they want to know that their money's going to be safe. And they want to know that we know how to protect it. So that's what we work in and day out, with our students. That's what it comes down to. Now, I've been doing this for many years, and a lot of people feel intimidated, to approach private money lenders for the very first time, and I did too. I did too. So let me give you a little secret tip here. Is many of us, we have family members, we have friends that we know have money, right? That we know, man, if I could learn how to invest in real estate, I could grow their money safely. But a lot of times we're afraid to ask them. So what I always tell our students to do is, hey, call that family member or friend that you know has the money to invest. Tell them that you're a real estate investor, that you're learning how to raise money for your deals, and you'd love to give them the presentation to practice it. And you'd love to get their feedback on what you can do better. And so what'll happen, I mean, I tell my students this every week, and every time I see people, they say, hey, I did that. I presented it to my uncle, and guess what? He actually loaned me money. Because when you take people through these slides and the presentation, it's really a no-brainer. The opportunity speaks for itself. But what happens is once people start lending you money and you prove yourself as an investor, you do a couple deals that make profits and you pay people back on time, they want to get their money working. And then, so now what happens in my business when I pay a private money lender back, they're excited to make their interest. But the first question they ask me is, Jeff, when's the next deal? How do I get my money working? And then they start talking to their friends. And then you get emails like this. This is an email I received not too long ago from a gentleman named Steve. I covered up his last name here. But he says, morning, Jeff. We spoke about putting some of my business cash to use on a very short-term basis. I have 7 figures that need some friends. Please keep me in mind when you have a need for capital. So this is literally an individual reaching out to me saying, hey, I don't even know this guy at the time. I have money. I would love to lend it to you. Keep me in mind when you have the next deal. That's how this happens, right? And once you close a few deals, it's literally, it's funding your deals becomes one of the easiest things. But most people will never get past that initial learning phase on how to present it, how to communicate it. And then many people, even if they learn, they won't press through the fear. So that's what we're adamant about at Kingdom 320 is equipping people so they're confident in what they're doing and then really helping them push through the fear. And that's just part of being a Christian, right? God does not want us, I've learned in life the greatest things that I've experienced in life are always right on the other side of my fears. But most people spend their entire lives settling for a job or settling for a life or settling for something that they know they want more, but they're afraid to step out. They're afraid to take that step. And that's why I said in the beginning is where can you take action? Because, as Christians, we all sing songs about Jesus taking the wheel, right? Jesus, guide my life, take the wheel of my life, right? That's beautiful. I want Jesus steering my life. But what good is Jesus's hand on the wheel if the car's in park, right? We have to take action. We have to step out. We have to learn what we haven't been taught yet. We have to press through fears, right? And I found it so much easier to press through fears when you're part of a community that is rallying behind you and encouraging you and praying for you and pushing you through. So with that being said, I'm going to keep rolling. I'm actually way behind time here. I want to stick to 90 minutes, but I want to get into finding deals. And just like funding, I want to give you an overview here. I want to point out two specifically, but there's so many ways of finding deals. On-market deals, off-market deals, from MLSs to working with realtors, to doing direct mail, to networking groups, to property manager outreach, to FSBOs, contractors, bandit signs, wholesalers, dialing for dollars, robo-dialing, Zone for auctions, text messaging, bandit signs, direct mails, REI forums, so many different ways of finding deals. Now, the key that I want you to understand, I'm gonna show you two that I'm very passionate about. But before I show you this, I want you to understand the most important thing with marketing is just, it doesn't even matter, quite frankly, which marketing campaigns you pick. We tell our students that you should always have 2 to 3 running, 2 to 3. That's really all you need to build an incredible business. But whatever 2 to 3 you pick, the secret sauce is just being consistent. Being consistent. Most people give up right before the breakthrough is about to come. So being consistent, committing to 2 to 3 marketing campaigns and committing to those campaigns. I tell my students, don't shift away from any campaign until you've been running it at least 4 to 6 months. And after 4 to 6 months, then hey, we can make adjustments. So the number one key is consistency, but then number two is understanding it's just math. If you pick, like I love Facebook marketing, I love mailing sellers to letters, I love text messaging. But whatever 3 you met, there I see James, 20 to 50 leads before your first deal. That's exactly where I'm going here, James. Statistically, you're going to have to generate, somewhere, I usually say about 25 to 30 leads. And then of the 25 to 30 leads, about 10 to 15 of them become prospects that you evaluate and you make offers on. And then only 1 to 2 become a deal. So it's just math. So if you want to do one deal, statistically, you just have to generate 30 leads. And then you write about 10 to 15 offers and you get 1 to 2 deals. Now, some people hear that and they say, oh, 30 leads, that's a lot. Or I have to write 15 deals and 14 of them are going to say, no, that's a lot of no's. I don't want to experience that. Well, this business probably isn't for you then. I don't know about you, but I mean, real estate, again, it's God has used real estate to bring financial freedom to more people's lives than any other. So I don't know about you, but to me, if I have a system in place where I know every time I generate 30 leads, every time I write 15 offers, I'm going to get 1 deal that's going to make me a very healthy profit. I'm willing to do it over and over and over again. But let me show you 2 here very quickly, because I'm running out of time. One that literally you could pick up the phone and start tomorrow if you want. One will require getting some access to some technology here. But this one it's so easy. I don't even need a slide for it, quite honestly. But it's networking with property managers. All you need to do is Google property managers in whatever city you live in. So you see here a screenshot, property managers, Austin, Texas, and there's a few here. Now, that's all you need to do. Now, what are you doing with this, right? So think about this. Property managers, we might have some property managers on tonight's call. Property managers manage properties for real estate investors. Now, when real estate investors are thinking of selling their properties, the first person they have to let know is their property manager, because the property manager is going to be the one to get the house ready or to let prospective buyers in to look at it. So literally, I've been doing this for years, and I do this to this very day, is I pick up the phone and I call property managers. Now, I've been doing this for years, so I have a list of people I have relationships now. In the beginning, I was cold calling people, but I'll literally call, and if I'm a brand new investor and I've never met them before, I'll say, hey, my name is Jeff Rutkowski with 320 Capital. I'm a residential redeveloper, and I'm looking to pick up a few more rental properties to add to my portfolio. By any chance, are any of your clients that you're managing homes for, are they looking to sell their properties now or in the future? That is it. Now think about this. If you're a property managers get money for managing properties. So if one of their clients is going to sell their property, they don't like that necessarily because then they're going to be losing that property to manage. So if you go right to the property manager and you say, hey, I'm looking to buy more properties, are any of your clients looking to sell? Then you'll be shocked how many times, well, oh yeah, or this property's been a headache, and they'll work with you because they don't want to lose that property as a property management. Many property managers are also realtors, so they'll actually even help facilitate the sale, and now they're making a commission potentially on it as well. Guys, this property on the screen here, oh, I'm not showing my screen anymore. This property right here is in Youngstown, Ohio. And I bought this, I don't know, a year and 2 months ago, something like that. I actually bought this with my pastor. Me and my pastor are partners on this building. It's 36 units. It's three 12-unit properties that you see. There are three individual buildings. And we make tremendous cash flow on this property. And this is a value add property where we purchased it for about 1.4 million. We have a 3 to 5 year plan on this where we're going to force appreciation on this, and we project in 3 to 5 years we'll be able to sell this building around 2.2 million. But in the meantime, we're making cash flow. And guys, this came from one phone call, calling one property manager. And actually, this property, I called the property manager, and the property manager, I said, hey, any of your clients looking to sell? And she says, not that I could think of right now, but she said, I actually own a property that I would love to sell. So actually, this property was owned by the property manager. Her name was Sherry, and I bought it directly from her. I see Anthony saying refi and keep it. That's probably what will happen. That is refi till you die, as they say. So what Anthony's saying, I bought it for 1.4. It'll become worth 2.2. I could refinance it, probably pull 1.8, 1.9 out of it, lessen my cash flow, but put a few $100,000 in my pocket to go buy tax-free dollars, by the way, in my pocket to go buy another property. So anyways, that's exciting. Is that exciting stuff, guys? I mean, I wanted to give you something, regardless whether you look into our program, regardless of whether you join our program, that you could go do tomorrow. Google property managers in your city, pick up the phone, tell me you're a real estate investor. Are any of their clients looking to sell? If you get a no, just keep them on your list. Call them at least once a month. And I'm telling you, you do that consistently and your list of property managers grows. It's just a tremendous technique. So strategies like this are great. And obviously I'm very enthusiastic about it, but they do take time. It takes energy. It takes consistency, but they do work. But you got to spend the time hitting the phones. You got to spend the time sending out the yellow letters. You got to spend the time hanging the bandit signs, whatever strategy is. But who would love, instead of us going out and hunting for the leads, what would be the best? I see Brent is saying that you're disabled. What would be the best technique? Well, I would say, Brent, the one I'm about to show you, because instead of, getting out there. Now, this does require accessing a certain technology. We have a proprietary software that I actually helped develop this software years ago and implement it, my systems and my tools into it. It's called Lead Gen. But you see here, let me just show you very quickly. And this is really what I do anytime I'm looking to break in to a new property, is I'll jump into the software. I typed in Dallas, Texas. I invest a lot in Dallas. So if you're a Dallas investor, reach out to me. I'd love to connect with you. But I invest a lot in Dallas. So for instance, I put Dallas, Texas in here, and I hit search for single family homes. Then what comes up, you see here that this software is showing me about 331,000 potentially motivated sellers. You see all of the individual properties here. Now, there's all different lead types. There's absentee owners. There's delinquent tax properties. There's high equity properties, low equity properties. Uh, uh, you're asking about North Carolina. Every zip code in the entire country is in this software. And so you could go in here. So in this case, because the great thing about real estate is that we are looking to buy distressed properties and help distressed homeowners get to a better position. But what's great about being a real estate investor in most businesses, the hardest part of the business is generating leads consistently. But what's great about real estate is all distressed properties are public records. If somebody's an absentee owner, it's a public record. If someone's delinquent on their taxes, it's a public record. If somebody went through a divorce, it's a public record. And all the software really does is it aggregates everything together and puts it at your fingertips. If you wanted to, you could spend, 8 hours every Monday going to town hall and going through record books and pulling this information out. I used to do that a long time ago, but now I love the convenience of a software like this that just brings it to my fingertips. So I can say, hey, software, show me all the properties that are owned by an absentee owner that are also considered a board investor. A board investor is somebody that's owned the property for more than 10 years. An absentee owner is somebody that owns the property but doesn't live in it. So they're an investor, right? So they're an absentee owner. They don't live in it. They've owned it for 10 to 12 years, and then it's sitting there vacant, just costing them money. This is called stacking the leads. So then I clicked those buttons, and then the software brought me from 331,000 down to 602 leads. And you see all of them here on the right-hand side. From there, I could actually segment. I like this particular, northeastern portion of Dallas. So I could say, hey, show me all the properties that are in this area. And then we've even incorporated artificial intelligence into the software. So we could click, I don't know, it might be a little hard to see here on the screen, but you could click this little AI score button, and literally the software will run all of those 600 leads through about 400 data points, and it will tell you which one of these homeowners basically are the most distressed, that need help the quickest, and have the highest probability of selling these homes at a discounted price in less than 90 days. Now, usually when I teach this in a live setting, people start clapping or saying boom or whatever. It's just incredibly powerful. Is again, the hardest part of building any business is generating leads consistently. But the easiest part of generating leads consistently, one of the easiest parts of being a real estate investor is generating the leads consistently, because it's all public records. It's all at your fingertips. So again, this is software that obviously we put a lot of time, a lot of investment into. It's available to our students and all of that. But I just want to show you the potential. So whether you're one of our students or not, this potential is out there. And I didn't start with this. Stuff like this didn't even exist, quite frankly, when I started as an investor. Now, once you pull these leads, you could tell the software, you could hit this button and say, hey, skip trace the owner's phone number and send text messages to them. Download this information, and you could export this info right into Facebook, and you could actually run Facebook ads only on the Facebook accounts of the owners of these properties. You could also send out direct mail pieces. So I'm running out of time here, so I got to keep moving. But think about this. You could pull leads from anywhere. You literally could be on the beach, as you see here, pull out your laptop, pull these leads. Literally in about 30 minutes or less, you can have text messages going out to these leads, and they call, you make an offer, evaluate the property, make an offer. You could have Facebook ads running if you want to these leads. That also results in making an offer. And you could have letters going out. So typically what we teach our students is we don't want them spending more than like 2 to 3 hours a month on their marketing, because there's so many ways through technology just to automate it. And I don't know about you, I didn't get into real estate investing just to make money, just to be able to fund God's kingdom. but I made money. I wanted to be a real estate investor to have time freedom. So I could also give my time to the things that God wants me to give my time to. My daughter, I have a freshman in high school, and she's just joined the wrestling team. I never thought I'd have a wrestler for a daughter, but she loves it. And I don't ever want to miss one of my daughter's wrestling matches. And real estate has given me the time freedom where I don't have to worry about that. So to me, when I'm showing software, it's not just software, it represents freedom in many different ways. So it's done for you. What this means for investors is we leverage technology to do hard work. The leads come to us. You're not having to door knock like I got started and have doors slammed in your face and go through all this rejection. Artificial intelligence leads equal high conversions, saves you a ton of time, and makes you a lot of money. So who would love to get your hands on software like this? Say, see me, whatever that you want to do. But so I'm going to give everybody an opportunity to talk to our team so you can learn about the software, learn about our program. There's no pressure to do so. But I'm also going to have a free gift for anybody that even explores that opportunity. But I wanted to share one thing really quick before I do that. Every Wednesday in my community, I do a Facebook Live into our private Facebook group. So for our full-time students, we have a private Facebook group. I go in there once a week and we celebrate wins, and I just answer, questions. But one of our students shared this win yesterday. This came in 4 days ago. It's a little longer. It'd take me probably about 30 seconds to read it all, but I think it's very powerful, and I think it really will demonstrate to you how ultimately we help people at Kingdom 320. And we believe at Kingdom 320 to succeed, you need three things. You need a mentor, you need a community that will encourage you. God did not create us to do life or business alone. He created us for community. And then we need a plan. We need a battle plan. So this is one of our students, David Jamison. Victory update, 2796 Cornell. Trust the process, using Kingdom 320 tools to build for his glory. Deal overview, Cincinnati, Ohio. Flip, after repair value, 240,000. Rehab cost, 80,000. All-in cost, 157.5. Projected closing cost, 24,000. These are the main areas that we teach our students to evaluate the properties. The projected profit that they're going to earn is 70,500, including assigning the properties to themselves and getting $12,000 assignment fee. So they're projecting a 45% cash on cash return. So I think we would all agree this is a pretty good deal. So it says our journey. My wife Kelly and I discovered this discounted property right here in Cincinnati. A tree had fallen on the house. The seller wanted to use the insurance money to buy a new home instead of dealing with repairs. We got the property under contract for $65,000 and purchased it for $77,000, assigning it to ourselves and then reinvesting a $12,000 assignment fee into our wholesaling business. That's a ninja strategy that we teach our students. They submitted it for deal review. One of the things we do at Kingdom 320 is we review all of our students' deals to make sure that they're getting into a good deal and avoiding a bad deal, right? So they submitted it for deal review to ensure it was solid. The feedback and the insights we received gave us the confidence to move forward, knowing we had a winning deal. Partnering with family. We partnered with my brother, his wife, and my father-in-law to manage the project. Together, we use Kingdom 320 tools to find and interview contractors, get multiple bids to choose the right fit. The rehab is expected to finish in 10 to 12 weeks. A trusted realtor. Using the Kingdom 320 process, we also found a trusted realtor to partner with for the sale. It's crazy how one deal can repay your investment in the Kingdom 320 program. My wife and I joined Kingdom 320 just 90 days ago, and the tools and the coaching and the community have already helped us create this special opportunity. Here's some pictures of the property. A heartfelt thank you to Christian Catrone, one of our coaches, Eddie Boykin, another one of our coaches, Sean McNicholas, another one of our speakers, Jeff Rutkowski, Ammon Brimhall, one of our coaches. Your coaching and your mentorship have been invaluable in helping us achieve this victory. Scripture reflection. Not that we are competent in ourselves to claim anything for ourselves, but our competence comes from God. This deal is a reminder that all we do through his provision, his guidance, and his grace. Partner with us. We're looking to partner with people in Ohio, Texas. Let's build together for his glory. So I just wanted to share that just because, I mean, I'm so proud of these students. They're newer students, and they just followed the systems that we taught to the T, and you know, got that incredible result. And I want the same for you. I want whatever God is calling you to. I don't want you to have to ask money for permission. I see too many Christians that live just like the world. They did what the world taught them. They worked hard in school. They got good grades. They just got a job, and they were taught to try to save their money for retirement. And it's not working. And most people aren't free to do what God's calling them to do because their financial situation doesn't allow them to. So really, at Kingdom 320, we love real estate, but you know, real estate's just a vehicle. Real estate is simply just a vehicle to have more time to do what God's calling you to do and have more finances to fund the things that he puts on your heart. So if you're not one of our students, first of all, if you're one of our students, it's so good to have you here tonight and just to spend more time with you. You guys have everything that you need. But just for a moment, if it's okay, I want to speak to anybody here tonight that is not currently one of our students and give you an opportunity where there's no pressure, nothing like that. And you're actually going to get a lot of free gifts just for talking to our team. But it all starts with an intro call. So we have a team of coaches that is just one of the most incredible teams I've ever worked with in my career. I think half of our teams now are either a pastor or a missionary. So these are people that are living the culture. They're living what we believe. And really, they feel called to help people, you know, really get clear on what God's calling them to do, and then really understand how real estate can be used as a vehicle to get them there. So by scheduling a coaching call, we're going to talk to you about, you know, why you feel called to kingdom entrepreneurship, where you are at life currently, what's in your hand, and how you could use what's in your hand to hit the goals or to hit the things that God's trying you to do. Maybe you're in a job that you want out of this job, right? You're not happy there. Your boss mistreats you, right? But you're financially dependent on it. And one of your goals, students say this all the time, is Jeff, 6 months from now, 12 months from now, I want to walk away from this job, right? So we reverse engineer and we help people, you know, accomplish those goals. What is your ultimate kingdom vision? For scheduling the call, guys, as I said, you're going to get some really awesome free gifts, something called the 320 Toolbox, where you get a growth worksheet, a purchase and sales agreement that you could use to buy real estate in all 50 states, a buyer's script, so you know what to say to buyers, what not to say, a limiting beliefs worksheet, a vision worksheet, word declarations, scriptures that I speak over my life and speak over my business, a seller lead sheet, and a deal analyzer. So we normally give this to anybody that you know, books one of our calls. But I wanted to throw in a couple extra things tonight. Number one is because we're talking about raising money. When you sign up for the call, and again, it doesn't matter if you join our program or not, you get all this stuff. But if you sign up and do the call, you're also going to get, this is maybe about an 18-page manual on my top 10 ways of raising money for real estate. And then also, my team asked me, hey, could we throw in a Christmas gift here? And for anybody that does do the call and anybody that does enroll in the program in the month of December, we're actually gifting a free month of one-on-one coaching because we have one-on-one coaching in our program. So to take advantage of that opportunity, if you're interested, and actually if you could put the link in the chat box, is just go to k320call.com. That's k320call.com. And when you go to that site, you're going to see a calendar, Calendly schedule just like this. You just click on, probably we're not doing calls tonight, but tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday, next Wednesday, we have many slots open to accommodate you. Well, many slots as we can handle. Typically on a webinar, I didn't even look to see how many. We have 390 people on, so we probably don't have enough slots. So it's going to be first come, first serve. Just get in there and just book the slot, talk to the team. And again, that's at k320call.com. When you book your call, we're going to send you a vision worksheet. It'll take you a few minutes to fill out, but you'll get so much more value out of the call if you take the time to fill it out. And it'll really help the team understand your current situation better so they can maximize that time together because they're relatively shorter calls. As you know, they're just, they're answering questions, letting you know how our coaching program works, what the investment is. There is an investment to join our coaching program, how the software works, et cetera, et cetera. So that's at k320call.com. The link is in the chat box. And I wanted to, one thing actually I was, I'm a little over time here. So what I'm going to do one thing here is, again, take advantage of the opportunity if you're interested, k320call.com. I'm going to officially end the webinar now, but for those that want to stick around, I'm actually going to go live into our membership site. So you can kind of get a preview of kind of how we support students, things along those lines. Also stick around and answer some questions here as well. But actually, I don't want to do anything you guys don't want me to do, but put in the chat box, if anybody's going to stick around, would you like to see the membership site, kind of see a little bit closer how we support students and things along those lines. Excellent. And then I'll answer some questions too. So John and Nate, if there's any questions that I haven't really answered through, just in a moment, I'll pull those up or you guys could jump in and I'll answer the questions. But all right, cool. So what you're seeing here, guys, on the screen, this is our membership site for our students that invest in the program. That go to the intro call, end up investing in the program, and this is what they have access to. So you see here, this is our homepage, and what you see on the homepage is that these are this is on-demand curriculum. So this is curriculum you could watch at any time on your phone, your iPad, while you're driving in your car. Well, we probably shouldn't watch it while you're driving in your car, but you can certainly listen to it. And this is, first we have a quick getting started module. So when you join the program, you understand all the things that are available to you, where to start, where to go first, etc. We also have a kingdom mindset course because, again, this isn't just investing in real estate. This is investing in real estate God's way. So we talk to our students about what it means to have a kingdom mindset, what it actually looks like to put God first in a business. Seeking God first is the most important thing we could do for our business. If we want God's favor, if we want his anointing, if we want his power on our business, we have to put him first. It's non-negotiable, right? So we talk about practical ways of doing that day to day in your business. The importance of stewardship, understanding that if we start a business, it's actually not even our business, it's his business, that we have the privilege of stewarding. Breaking the spirit of mammon. Getting deliverance if we need deliverance. Jesus, of all the things in the Bible, he said you can't love both God and mammon. What is mammon? How do we understand if we're being influenced by it? How do we break it off of our lives, etc.? These are important things, right, to building a kingdom-minded business. Understanding that we serve a God that wants to reward us. We serve a God that is for us. We serve a God of increase. We serve a God that says the best days are always out in front of us, that the path of the righteous winds upward. Understanding the principle of multiplication. Understanding how to be faithful with what God puts in our hands. Understanding why forgiving people that hurt us is a huge part of doing business. Because as a business owner, you will get let down. You will get hurt. Just last week, I got hurt by a business relationship more than I think I've ever been hurt in my career. It happens, but we have to forgive. We can't hold that unforgiveness. We can't hold that bitterness because then it prohibits God from moving in our lives and our business, right? So we all want all of our students to start with the kingdom mindset. Then they jump into foundations. Then they go into understanding, learning how to evaluate deals, how to market, define the deals, how to use the software, wholesaling, rehabbing, funding your deals, creative financing, where you learn the sub-2 strategies and all of these different things, rental properties, et cetera, et cetera. We have many live events that we do. We have a big live event coming up in June in Dallas of 2025. But any events that we do, live or in person, the recordings are up here, so you could go back and watch them. Monday through Friday, we have live group coaching. You see here, we've done over 513 group coaching calls. They're all recorded. They're all categorized. So if you jump in and you say, hey, I want to get some training on how to, how to pull comparables to determine an ARV, estimate ARV, you could sort down here and you see 3 trainings that we did recently on this that you could go in and watch. And if you're able to join these live, you have a live coach teaching you, training you, answering questions. Community. Our private Facebook group is just an incredible community. We're over, you see in the top left-hand corner, we're over 5,000 members all across the country. And you just see, any flippers here in Idaho. I have a property about to go under contract. Would love to wholesale it for cheap. DM me the address. Also, anyone has a buyer in the area. Seeking a little input. Does anyone have some good leads on this? So it's just a community that helps each other, that tries to do deals together, encourages each other. Melissa posted just 3 hours ago, what do you think about keeping these upper cabinets and making them open shelves? I don't know, or should I scrap them? I don't know. Melissa, if you're listening, I would say scrap those cabinets. Even if that's a rental property, those cabinets are no good. Get rid of them. But you see here, that's our community. We have our members directory, one-on-one mentorship. We offer one-on-one coaching. I believe one-on-one coaching is really one of the most powerful ways to succeed as an investor. That's what changed my life when God sent me a mentor and I got one-on-one coaching. And you see here on the screen our incredible Kingdom 320 coaching staff. You can just jump in here and click one of the coaches. You could see their areas of expertise, read their bio, and schedule a call with them. Now, I like to say this about all of my coaches. They're very good coaches, but they're not professional coaches. They're professional real estate investors that coach. So at Kingdom 320, you're not going to be coached by, or no speaker is going to be speaking to you unless they're actually doing the business. To be a coach in my program, you had to successfully close a minimum of 25 transactions. And we have some coaches that have closed around the minimum. We have some coaches that literally own hundreds of millions of dollars of real estate. We have an investor toolbox. I mentioned this earlier. This has the scope of work directory, contracts, press releases for your business, all of the manuals that you need, every piece of paper that you need to successfully conduct this business is in here for you. Our scope of directory is something that our students love. When you're rehabbing a property, for instance, and say you're redoing a kitchen, instead of trying to design that kitchen yourself and go spend hours at Home Depot, just come into our directory, pick the kitchen that you like, then you go ahead and you download the Excel spreadsheet, and it gives you literally the links to order it from Home Depot, the SKU numbers, the model number, just done for you, right? Again, we're at Kingdom 320, we're not just about teaching people, but we believe in systems. Because we believe in systems equal time freedom, right? When you have a repeatable system that you just do over and you do over and you do over again, that's how you get time freedom, right? So we believe in systems, we believe in education, and we believe in coaching. And I think you'll find, if you talk to many of our students, that we offer just the best in the industry. I really believe it is. I'm very proud of what we built. You also get access to the software. So you see, you click here, and this brings you right in, to the software. And then you jump in, you start using the software. We teach you how to do that. We have one-on-one deal review. So every time you're going to close on a deal, before you do, run it through our deal review process. You fill out this form here, but you'll get on a one-on-one coaching call where a coach will, basically say, yes, we think it's a good deal, or no, we don't think it's a good deal. That type of person. You see asset protection. We're very big on asset protection and tax planning. One thing you'll learn as a real estate investor, it's not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep. So the U.S. tax code is really structured in the favor of of real estate investors and business owners. That is it. So, anyways, that I just wanted to give you a little sneak peek here, but again, the webinar is officially over. I'm just hanging out. I wanted to show you that for those of you that wanted to see it. But if there's any questions, I would love to I'd love to answer them. I see Aaliyah. Oh, actually, John or Nate, is there anything just I missed on, or anything I need to elaborate on or be more clear on, or any specific like consistent questions you guys saw before I look at the ones in the Q&A box?
Hey Jeff, yeah. Well, first off, amazing webinar. I think the theme that we're seeing in the chat is from the current students. They're thanking you for all the incredible mentorship, and for the future students, they're excited to get on the call. So thank you for all the value that you've shared. So first question that I saw is, if you have a mortgage at 3% interest, should you pay off that mortgage or should you make minimum payments?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I saw that one too. So right now, if you have a mortgage, 3% or less, even 4% or less, like that mortgage in and of itself is an asset. So first of all, I really believe in taking territory, keeping houses long term. One of my mottos is always a buyer, never a seller. When I sell properties, I'm going to 1031 exchange them into bigger properties and defer taxes and all of that. But so if you have a 3% mortgage, I would do whatever you need to do to keep that property. Unless you have to sell it for certain reasons. If you have a 3% mortgage, but you have a lot of equity, you could put an equity line of credit behind that 3% and not lose it. So a 3% mortgage is something that's very valuable. So and if that property cash flows, I definitely would keep it. So obviously there's details to that. I don't know the whole situation, but I would try to keep that property, continue to make the payments. If for any reason you're not able to make the payments or the property doesn't cash flow, then yeah, you want to look at unloading it, selling it. But if there's a way to keep it, I would definitely keep it. What else you got, John?
Yeah, awesome. So, a question that we've been getting is, what is the maximum number of credit cards that you would recommend somebody take out?
That's funny. I don't think anyone's ever asked me that before. You know, I really don't think there is a maximum. I mean, I've lost count of how many I have. I mean, I easily personally have over 20. But yeah, to me, there's not a limit, right? It's just the important thing with credit cards or any type of credit is just learning how to use it responsibly. But to me, like if you know how to use debt responsibly, um, then to me, the more the merrier. That would be my answer.
Got it. Okay. And when you apply for a credit card, Jeff, it does take a hard pull from your credit. Is that hard pull worth it? Or like, would you pace yourself with how many cards you apply for?
Yeah, I wouldn't be worried about that. I mean, a hard pull will ding your credit a little bit. I mean, I wouldn't go do like 10 at one time, but if you're doing one, two, three, I wouldn't be concerned about it.
Got it. Awesome. What real estate strategies would you recommend for people who don't have the best credit score?
Wholesaling. I got started. I didn't get to share a lot of my story to tonight. I mean, it's online in different places, but for those of you that aren't familiar, I got into real estate when I was 21. I was broke, and then about 4 or 5 years later, I went bankrupt. And after I went bankrupt is when I met my mentor. This was in 2008, 2007, and so my credit was destroyed. It was worse than destroyed. My credit was outside of the church smoking a cigarette, as my friend says. It was that bad. So I didn't have credit; it wasn't an option. So when I started off as a wholesaler, now, but it's important to understand though, John, is that even with bad credit, everything that I taught tonight, you don't like it's all asset-based lenders. So the only thing that you need good credit for that I taught for tonight is if you're doing traditional bank loans. So if it's a traditional bank loan, a home equity line of credit, something like that. But hard money, private money, all of that, your credit it's irrelevant. But if I'm starting out with bad credit or no money, Wholesaling is a great way to start. I love it to this day. I call it deal finding, where we teach students, how to make money just for finding the deals. They don't even have to raise the money. They don't even have to buy the properties. They're literally just finding the deals for other investors and getting paid profit for their time. Great question, though.
Awesome. So I have a question here about gap funding.
Mhm.
We have people who are interested in gap funding, and we have people who are in need of some gap funding. Can you speak to what exactly is gap funding? What are the risks of being a gap funder, and what are the potential benefits?
Yeah. So, I mean, as investors, we're always looking for gap funding. And what gap funding is when I started in the business, I started with hard money, as I said earlier. So, hard money typically will cover 75 to about 80% max of what you need. So, if you need $100,000 to do a deal, a hard money lender to a brand new investor, they'll typically say they cover 80% of the deal. So, you need 100 grand, a hard money lender gives you 80,000. So, that means you have a gap of 20,000. So, you have to fill that gap. So, we fill that gap often with private lenders. I've filled that gap with credit cards before. I filled that gap with home equity lines of credit. So gap funding, it's not like a specific type of funding. It's just it's a second loan that you need to finance the house. So as an investor looking to borrow the money, again, we could get it from private money lending, credit cards, a million different places we could get it from. Now, if you are a private money lender and you are lending money as you're the gap lender, the thing that that's important to know is that if you're a gap lender, that means you're going in a second position on the property. Now, a second position is riskier because if the deal goes bad, the first position gets paid off first, and the second position gets paid only if there's money left over, right? So so typically, if you're a gap lenders typically would charge a little bit higher interest to mitigate the risk. But I know earlier I asked if there's anybody interested in becoming private money lenders, and there's a lot of people that said yes. The most important skill set that you can develop as a private money lender is knowing how to evaluate properties for yourself. Because if you know how to evaluate the property yourself, you know how to calculate the ARV, you know how to estimate the repairs, you know how to determine the time value of money, then whether you're lending in the second position or not, it's a safe position because you're making an educated investment. But anyways, that is some quick thoughts there. What else we got?
Yeah, awesome. So I have a personal question from Shalea. She's asking, what keeps you going in real estate and in your business?
Wow, that's a good question, I mean, what keeps me going in life, so in general, is, as a believer, we all know that we're gonna walk into heaven one day. We're gonna meet Jesus face to face. And the Bible talks about this, and it talks about, potentially hearing, those words, well done, good and faithful servant. And so that drives me more than anything else. Like, I mean, there's been many times in my business, there's been many times in my life I've wanted to quit, I've wanted to give up, I wanted to throw in the towel. But that one thought has kept me going probably more than any other thought in my life. Now, specific to real estate and really specific to Kingdom 320 is it's not enough. Like, my family and I, God has blessed us with financial success, but I want to take as many people with me as possible. And, I don't believe anybody on this earth ever, I don't believe anybody ever leaves the earth having reached their full potential. Uh, I believe it's impossible, actually. I believe we won't reach our full potential until eternity. But I want to die trying. I want to die trying to push the limits. Kingdom 320 was inspired by Ephesians 3:20, where it says, "Our God is a God that wants to do above and beyond what we can think or imagine is possible, according to the power that works in us." So I want to see what's possible. I want to see, like, man, like, if we serve a supernatural God. If he wasn't supernatural, we wouldn't need him, right? But he is, right? He's supernatural. He's a God of miracles. So I want to push the limits on what's possible. So though combination of those thoughts keep me going. But more than anything else, man, I'm on a mission to hear those words. Well done, good and faithful servant.
That's powerful, man. That's powerful. A question that I'm seeing here is we a couple different questions actually. We have people who are committed to starting a real estate business and are wondering when is the right time to begin investing in real estate.
Yeah, the right time is now. I completely forgot to mention this at the beginning of the call. I talk to a lot of people, that, oh yeah, I'll do it, after the holidays or after the new year. And it's such a mistake because first of all, is any new year you want to hit the ground running, right? Like you want to be in the position to be making offers on January 1st, and capitalizing on the opportunity that's out there. But also most investors get lazy around the holidays is most businesses, kind of take their foot off the gas, type of thing. And the thing is, as a real estate investor, we're in the business of buying distressed properties. If somebody's going through a divorce, if someone's going through a bankruptcy, those situations, if a bank's foreclosing, those situations unfortunately don't care if it's the holidays or not. Those people need help. So during the holiday season and this time of year, and even like the first half of January, there's just less competition. So it's those that are ready and equipped, to take action are going to benefit. So what I would do is I obviously enjoy the holidays, prioritize your family, prioritize, your church and the areas that you serve, but use this next, 19 days, 20 days, whatever it is that we have left in December, get yourself educated. We could get students ready in 3 weeks to be writing offers. In some cases, less than that. So you could use these next couple of weeks to educate yourself. And then instead of the first of the year, you're out there, you're making offers, you're getting deals, that type of thing. But so anyway, that's specific to this time of year, but bigger picture, it's the right time to invest in real estate was yesterday. But the second best time is always now. Because and it doesn't matter, John, if a crash is coming or a boom is coming. It doesn't matter what the market's doing. Our students know this. It doesn't matter what the market's doing. It matters what we're doing in the market. And an educated investor will make money and create wealth in a market that's crashing, a market that's booming, or kind of a stable plateauing market, kind of like we're in right now.
Awesome. Awesome. The best time is yesterday. Second best time is today. Jeff, I have a question from Maxim, and he says, "Hey, Jeff, I've taken the initial steps to join Kingdom 320, but having just started college, it makes me uncertain if I can continue. Did you go to college? And if so, what insights can you share on balancing the two?"
Yeah, that's a great question. And I work with, if people know Priscilla Shire, I actually coach her son, Jerry. He's at Liberty University. And I've actually never seen somebody balance the two better. So I've actually learned a lot, to answer that question, from him. But first of all, whoever asked the question, I love the fact that you are in college and you're learning to be a real estate investor as well. So first of all, hats off to you. Me personally, I'm a college dropout, unfortunately. I dropped out of college in my senior year. I did 2 years of college at Liberty. Actually, when I was in the Navy, I was doing remote college. This is how old I am. I would get VHS tapes mailed literally to the Navy boat. I've watched the courses on VHS, and I have to take these tests. So I did 2 years of college through Liberty, and then I went to Albertus Magnus in New Haven, Connecticut, but I dropped out in my senior year when God called me to real estate. And I thought about going back and finishing it, but then I'm like, I kind of like being a college dropout. So I don't think I'll finish. But John, this guy, you can't see John, but John, what do you got? You have your master's now in theology, right? Business and theology.
I do, yes.
Yeah, so so John, you went through your master's, you graduated a few years ago. During that time, you were investing in real estate, you were loaning money, you were wholesaling properties. So how did you balance the two?
Yeah, no, I think what I was a little nervous to balance the two in the beginning, but something I've learned, and I learned this mostly from you, Jeff, is people have a much bigger capacity than they think that they have. So for me, the most efficient that I've ever been is the seasons that I've taken on the most and said yes to the most things, as long as they're the right things. So the way I think about it, if Elon Musk can run Twitter, can send rockets to space, can build an electric car company and make it profitable when the car industry is not profitable overall, if he can tweet, 100 times a day as he's doing this and advise President Trump, then I can run a real estate business and go to school at the same time. So I think for me, it was just the mindset of believing that I can do it. And once you have that mindset, once you commit to it, you'll find there's a lot of time in your day that's wasted that you can turn to better use. So that's what I would say for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. One prayer I've prayed many, many times in my life, and I recommend anybody that's still listening, you pray this prayer, but ask the Lord to increase your capacity. Ask him to, make you a man or make you a woman that he can trust with more, and ask him to increase your capacity. And again, we serve a supernatural God. Now, what I do right now in my life, I never could have imagined 20 years I'd be able to do all the things that I do right now. Um, but it's not through my strength, it's through his strength, because he's increased my capacity. He's given me supernatural strength to run an educational company, to run a real estate investment company, to own apartment buildings in different parts of the country, to be involved in my family and my church. Just but it's just that's the God that we serve, right? So test them, put them to work. I don't say that in a disrespectful way, but I really believe God wants us to. He's like, man, I want an opportunity to show you how powerful I am, to show you, impossible things I could do through your life, if you let me. So pray to God and say, God, make me a man or make me the woman that you could trust with more and increase my capacity to handle more and to carry more. And you'll be amazed by what he does. Whoever asked that question, that college student, that's what I would start praying first, my friend. What else we got? This is
Powerful.
fun.
Yeah, no, to stay on that theme, because I think we're getting into some important things here. One thing I've seen just in general from people who I think are called to a lot, but haven't necessarily been able to step out into it, is the thing that holds them back. It's not always lack of education or lack of opportunity. It's fear.
Oh yeah.
I've seen fear rob many people, including myself in the past, of the things that God has called them to. So, first part of the question is: do you still feel fear as you do real estate and as you step forward in business and pursue these things that you're talking about? And two, if so, how do you overcome it? How do you deal with it? What's your mindset around that?
Yeah, 100% I still feel fear. I don't think that ever, there's, the Bible says God did not give us a spirit of fear, right? He gave us a spirit of power, love, and sound mind. So there's a spirit of fear, right? And the spirit of fear needs to be handled with prayer and deliverance. But there's also a natural fear that in my mind is healthy, right? You're on the top of a building, you step to the edge, you feel this fear, right? And that's to protect you, right, from not falling or doing something stupid. But the thing is this, there's always fear to leave whatever you're currently comfortable with in life. There's always fear to move out of a comfort zone. Um, but the thing is this is the mistake that people make is they always wait for the fear to go away before they do anything, and it never goes away. Everything that I've done in my life that I consider of significance, um, I've always had to step out in faith through fear. Now, there's things that I've done in business I've done so many times, there's no fear at all. But there's, but I'm still an investor. I do large deals now, and real estate I've been doing real estate for 20 years, but I'll be the first one to tell you I don't know everything. Every time I do a deal, I'm learning something new, on these larger deals and things like that. So there's always fear, but what mitigates fear is education and really coaching. And because the thing is this is fear and risk are always at its highest when education is at its lowest. But when you increase your education and you have people around you that are supporting you, it doesn't eliminate fear or it doesn't eliminate risk, but it mitigates it, it decreases it. It gives you the confidence, to step out. So whenever I'm afraid, I get the education I need to get about whatever business I'm exploring, and then I find the people who have done it, and I get counsel from them. But then ultimately, after doing all that, you have to step out. There's no way, nobody's going to do it for you. Nobody's going to change your life unless you step out and do it yourself. So that's a little bit of advice there.
Awesome. Awesome. One thing I've heard you say in the past, Jeff, and also I've heard your business partner, Nick Unsworth, say this as well, is a lot of people say the determining factor of success, one of the big ones is speed of implementation. But you guys have kind of modified that. And what you've said in the past is the biggest determinant of success as a Christian is not just speed of implementation, but speed of obedience.
Hmm.
So I guess the question I have there is how do you know when God is calling you to do something like step into the marketplace, like step into a real estate business, especially when there are people who have stepped into other things in the past and haven't had success with them.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, obviously, there's times in life that God will just speak very clearly, right? When God called me to start Kingdom 320, it was one of the clearest moments God has ever spoken to me in my life. But then there's often times where, God, there's not necessarily like a clear word from God. So in those times, kind of what I do is I pay attention to two things. I pay attention to desires in my heart is because as believers, when we're seeking after God, the Bible says that God puts desires in our heart. And now, obviously, not like when before I was a Christian, I had a lot of desires in my heart that weren't godly, right? So the key piece here is we're seeking after God, right? We're not perfect, but as we're seeking after God and we're in a relationship with Jesus, then God will put desires in your heart that, man, I want to own my own business. I want to employ people. I want to improve my neighborhood through real estate. I want to create wealth. I want to, that type of thing. So a lot of times there's desires, but then also a lot of times there's burdens where God will put a burden in your heart about some injustice. Maybe Tim Tebow, right? God placed a burden in Tim Tebow's heart that he wanted to eradicate sex trafficking. And obviously, and he's doing it at the highest level. But the thing is this, if you want to change something in this world, most change requires resources. Here on the earth, resources are usually required to fund a business or to do something like that. And that's what I was saying earlier, John, when I was saying, most Christians they kind of feel a burden or desire, um, but they have to ask money for permission, or they want to go on a 6 month mission trip but they can't afford to do it, or their bills wouldn't get paid in the meantime. So a lot of times, I mean, I had a desire to teach a long time ago, but I didn't start teaching until I learned real estate, and then I got good at it, and I had something to teach, right? So I would say, hey, pay attention to the desires. We're God's kids. God, those of you that are parents, you want your kids to follow the desires of their heart, right? To fulfill the purpose on this earth. So if God gives you a clear word, that's easy. You just follow it. You should obey, right? If God speaks to you. But if you don't have a clear word, listen to your desires. Do you want to be financially free? Yeah, okay, yeah. Why? And then and then just look at, if real estate can be the vehicle to help you do it. I mean, real estate's not the only vehicle. I do believe it's the best vehicle, though. It's created more wealth than any other asset class. But yeah, listen to your heart, listen to the desires of your heart, listen to the burdens, and then seek God. And it's always good to have wise counsel too. Have wise counsel that you could run ideas off of and things like that. But the bottom line is this: is I would rather, with most things, especially in business and real estate, I'm at the point in my life where I'd rather make a wrong decision quicker than sit around forever trying to make a decision, where you learn what is right, quicker. Because that's the thing is even if you're stepping out in the wrong direction, the car's in motion. Then Jesus could grab the wheel and steer you to where he wants you to go. We see that happen all the time. Students come into the program and they're like, we want to start wholesaling. And they go after wholesaling, but then they quickly, shift over to they find, oh, I want to buy and hold properties, or I want to Airbnb invest, or I want to invest in commercial and that type of thing. So yeah, that would be that. Petrie, what's Petrie saying here? I served in the Adriatic Sea during the same time Jeff was in the Atlantic Ocean in 1999. Wow. Yeah, I was in 99. Yeah, 99. That was yeah, I'm trying to think if I think we were in the Adriatic Sea as well. We went across the Atlantic, through the Mediterranean, down the is it the Suez Canal into the Red Sea, Persian Gulf. Yeah, maybe not, maybe different seas. But that's cool. That's cool. Thank you for your service. Any other questions, John? Oh yeah,
Yes.
Kosovo.
So
Petrie is saying Kosovo. Yeah, I was we sat 30 miles off the coast of Kosovo, watching the bombs go off at night. So yeah, we were serving at the same time. It's good to have you here. Sorry, John. What else you got?
of course, yeah, Petrie. There was somebody who recently joined Kingdom 320 as a student, and he was reading through Jeff's story, and Jeff, in his story that he puts on the Kingdom 320 website, he shares the specific division of the Navy that he was in, and the ship that he was on, and then this guy, as he was going through this information before his call, he said, I was on that ship too on the same year. And it turns out he dug up the pictures and he was on the same ship at the same time as Jeff. So it's so cool. It's a small world,
That's
how
awesome.
that happens. But big question here, Jeff. We had what we call a troll in the chat
Oh,
when this webinar started, and what that troll was saying, in summary, in essence, was, "Hey, this is wrong. This is not theologically correct. Christians are not called to prosper," which is something that I think a lot of Christians believe and preach and buy into, in part, I think, because a lot of Christians haven't prospered in the past. So I just want to throw that to you. What are your thoughts on that? What's your reaction to it? And what does the Bible say about Christians and prosperity?
yeah. I mean, when I read the Bible, I mean, it's like, I mean, I think of God and He's my Father, right? He's my heavenly Father. My daughter Ava just popped her head in the room. She's my 14-year-old daughter. I'm her father. I want her to prosper. I want her to
Mm.
prosper in every area of her life. I want her to live in abundance. I want her to have an abundance of wisdom, abundance of resources, abundance of finances. So to me, it's like, what good father would not want their children to prosper? So I kind of laugh when people make fun of the prosperity gospel right now. Now obviously if all we talk about is getting wealth and all we talk about is getting stuff for ourselves and no impact on the world, obviously that's a problem. But but yeah, I mean it's people will say it's holier to be poor. If it's holier to be poor, why Jesus in the Bible, I think over 2,000 times commands us to give to the poor, right? So if it's holier to be poor and we're giving to the poor, wouldn't we make them like less holy? Like, so to me, it's just religious. It's just this religious mentality that really holds people back, in my opinion. So, the Bible says that God wants us to live in a position where we're able to be generous on every occasion. If you go read Second Corinthians, I think it's chapter 7 or 9, that talks about this. That literally, I mean, God says, I want you to live a life where you have the ability to be generous in every situation. Now, obviously, that's not just writing checks, that's being generous with your time, that's being generous with your wisdom, but it's also includes our finances, right? So the bottom line is this is, and people will ask me, well, how much money is too much? How much real estate is too much? And the answer is whatever amount of money causes you to take your focus off of God first, right? When Jesus is first in our life, I truly believe that, and where he's first in our life and we're faithful with what we have, I really don't believe there's a limit on what he wants to pour into our life, because the Bible says we are God's ambassadors. An ambassador is a representative of a foreign country, right? Heaven is our home, not earth. We're ambassadors here, right? So we're here to represent the interest of the kingdom of God. So God changes people's lives from the inside out, right? He renews our spirit, right? We get born again. But people are attracted to God from the outside in, where they see us, they see his ambassadors, and they should look at our lives, and there should be something attractive about our lives, right? If we're broke, busted, and disgusted, just like the world is, that's not attractive, right? I mean, what do we have to offer? The world around us. So again, I believe all Christians are called. I don't believe all Christians are called to be millionaires necessarily, but we all can be living in abundance, and we all can have extra resources to impact the world around us. So yeah, we always get a troll or two that'll pop in here every now and again, but they usually don't last that long. I'd be shocked if they're still on or they made it through the whole webinar. But
We would love to bring the troll on to have a conversation if he is
yeah,
still
I would
here.
love to interview the troll. Like troll, like so. If you're the troll and you're still on, speak up in the chat box, and we'll bring you on. Uh,
I
but
love that about you, Jeff. So I mean that brings up another question, and I'll ask questions all night long. So whenever you want to cap the questions, let me know. You can tell me we have three left. But the troll was representative of something that I think a lot of people are feeling in society and culture right now, especially being a Christian and standing for things that are not popular in the culture, life, marriage, family, things that have been attacked recently. And Jeff, you these past couple months especially have taken a very, very strong stance for the kingdom of God and for speaking truth and bringing things to light. And you haven't shied away from any conversation, unlike all these other corporations out there who are afraid to say the wrong thing because they're afraid to hurt someone's feelings, or they're afraid to get trolls come at them. So I guess, what would you say to Christians as a whole right now, and to encourage them in a culture where standing for what you believe is not popular, for being a successful Christian is not popular, for being a Christian who believes in truth is not popular? What would you say to that person as they face the persecution and the attacks that the world is going to inevitably bring their way?
well, I mean, I would ask him, did God call you to be popular, or did God call you to make disciples? Did God call you to fit in, or did God call you to advance his kingdom on this earth? We live in a culture today where um, popular Christianity is just not biblical. It's just not, but biblical Christianity is not popular. So you have to be willing to take a stand. And the thing is this is like we know God is love, and we know the Bible says that love conquers all, and it does. God is love, and love does conquer all. But when people think of love, they think of, harmony and unity and hugging and all that stuff is love. I'm not making fun of that stuff. It's good stuff. But people typically don't associate fighting evil as being loving. And the thing is this is we have an enemy, and we have on this earth, there are evil agendas at play in our government, in our country. There's many agendas that are not godly, that are trying to be forced into our culture, onto our children, into the marketplace, all of these things. James says, love is brave. It is, right? So, when we did a webinar teaching people how to, giving people guidance on how to vote, the election where we just saw President Trump get reelected. Praise God, by the way. But we did a webinar and we talked about prior to the election how to vote. First of all, why Christians should vote. Only 1 out of 3 Christians even vote, which is mind blowing to me. But we talked about, you know, pro-life versus pro-choice. We talked about the definition of marriage. Does God say there's 2 genders, or does God say there's 50, like the world says, And these aren't popular topics. And when you talk about them, you get labeled a homophobe, you get labeled, a person of hate, you get labeled a racist in some scenarios. But the thing is this is God is looking for people that are willing to speak truth in love. But the thing is this is like when you're confronting evil, you just got to confront it. You got to call it out, So I don't even remember the original question, John. But yeah, but Christians need to rise up. I mean, the most of the problems that are facing the world today is because the church fell asleep. We have so many wars happening right now across the country, but you have to understand like a war that manifests on this earth means first a war was lost in the spirit. It was lost in prayer. So it would never manifest on the earth if Christians rose up and we prayed into the areas that God, because God can't do anything on the earth unless we release him to do it through prayer, right? So any war, any conflict, any evil that we see happening, it's because the church has dropped the ball. And his people have dropped the ball collectively, right? So yeah. But the thing is, and another reason why it's important for a Christian to speak up is because when you speak up, you'll get hate 100%, but you'll inspire other people to speak up. And God's people on this earth, we are the majority. It's just we're silent. That's why not a lot gets done. So again, I don't remember the original question, but that hopefully I answered it.
Yeah, that was great. So next question, Jeff. Before earlier in the podcast, or in the webinar. There we go. It's the webinar. Um, One thing you said is it doesn't matter what the market is doing. It matters what you're doing in the market. Meaning, it's always the right time to invest in real estate as long as you know how to do it. So coming through 4 years of the Biden administration, I know the real estate investing strategies have had to change a little bit. But with the incoming Trump administration, what do you see as the biggest opportunity that's going to come in this next month, in this next year, and just over this next term in real estate?
Yeah, we're gonna do a webinar on this in January, actually. We'll probably do it like a week or 2 before Trump takes office. And we're gonna talk, I'm gonna get more into detail, but I mean, first of all, the thing that you have to understand about President Trump is with President Trump coming back in office, we're going back to an America First philosophy where the Biden administration was, at times I thought they hated our country, honestly, with some of the policies that they were passing. But the reason why a lot of people don't like Trump, a lot of elitists and globalists don't like Trump, is because he's looking out for the interest of America first. So that's important because that American first mentality. I mean, when you're looking at him now, I mean, I love how he called Trudeau the governor of the 51st state of the United States. He's talking to these other countries about tariffs, and and um, and what people are like, oh, why? That's horrible. It's going to increase the cost and goods of foreign products coming into our country. Yeah, there's truth to that, but it's going to boost the American economy. It's going to create more American jobs. It's going to bring production back to our country, things along those lines, right? So first of all, it's an American first mentality. But as it pertains to real estate specifically, I mean, inflation's going to get lower. Which is, the cost of goods and services you're going to see come down. As it pertains to real estate, I mean, inflation is the biggest driver of real estate. So real estate has got so unaffordable for the average American. So through a combination of slowing down inflation, boosting American jobs, productivity, and things like that, to me, if he executes on everything he says, it's just going to put more money in people's pockets, which is a good thing. He's also talking about giving over large amounts of government land to build more housing. Well, we have a housing shortage in our country. That's a big problem. Supply and demand, right? More housing will make housing more affordable for our country. He's also committed to, removing much of the red tape and the regulations that investors like myself and developers have to face when developing, I mean, right now, just to what developers have to go through to, from the time they find a piece of land, buy the land, get the land entitled, go through the permitting I mean, a lot of times it's 2 to 3 years. And the cost of holding the properties for that too long, it just doesn't make sense for developers to build as much as, should be being built. So anyways, those are just a few things. So I really believe like, it's going to be like investing with the wind at our back, where a lot of things are going to be shifting into our favor. He's talking about bringing back 100% bonus depreciation, which is very important to a real estate investor and mitigates our taxes and things like that. So, yeah, but we'll do a webinar in January, and we'll spend time really unpacking all that stuff. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Many people call it the golden age. We'll see. I love Trump. I'm a big Trump fan, voted for him. I believe he was the right choice. But we also have to hold him accountable too. He's got to come through and execute the stuff that he's promising. But I believe he will.
Awesome. I'm seeing a couple different comments from people who want to get into real estate, but don't even understand a lot of the terms that you talked about today. And maybe feel a little overwhelmed, and maybe feel a little lost about what their first step should be. So can you kind of take us back to what your first step was into real estate? Did you do it the right way? Did you do it the wrong way? Did you make some mistakes? And what first step would you recommend that somebody take to start investing?
Well, if you're feeling that way right now, like the first step I would recommend taking is go to k320call.com and talk to our team. And again, I mean, yeah, yes, there's an opportunity to invest in our coaching program 100%. But these calls are really designed to help you know clearly what your next step should be. That's one thing that we talk about, John, is just when people come on these calls, whether they invest with us or not, leaving them in a better place than we found them and and praying with them and helping them get clear on what their next step is or what that next step should be. Now, the mistake that I made, and this is a philosophy I carry in my life, is that most people, when they want to do something new or build a business, whatever, their blink reaction is always to try to figure out how to do it, how to do this, right? How to launch this, how to buy, flip your first property. But what I've learned is anytime I want to get into something new or build something new, I no longer do I go to the how first, I go to the who. I say, all right, who is doing what I want to do? Who is doing it God's way? Who is having those results? How do I learn from them? Right? Now, obviously, you could be listening to that and say, Jeff, that's convenient for you to say because you sell a coaching program. Well, that is true, but but it's what I believe. It's how I live. It's what I do in my life, in my business, right? I go. I mean, our business is growing and expanding. There's areas of the business where I can waste half my life trying to figure out how to do it, or I could just hire the right person that has done it and knows how to do it, right? So to be mentorship and finding the who before trying wasting the time figuring out the how, it's one of the biggest shortcuts to success. So if you're feeling that way, book a call. Again, you're not going to be pressured, but we're going to help you on get clear on that next step. But always go for the who because it just it's an accelerator, and you could go through there are things in my life that I mean, my first 5 years of investing in real estate, I figured it out on my own. And within that 5 years, I did deals. I made money. I was successful. But then that lack of education caught up to me and I lost everything in 2007 or 2008. A lack of education and ignorance would always catch up to you at some point. May get away with it for a little while, but it'll always catch up with you. So I always want to be surrounded by people that are smarter than me, that have done bigger things than me, uh, so I can lean on that experience and that expertise and not have to. There's certain lessons in life. We all have to make mistakes. You know, we even in a great program like Kingdom 320, you'll still have mistakes along the way, but they're not going to be mistakes that lead you to bankruptcy like I did. Like I ended up in there. So yeah, that would be my reaction. But maybe just two more questions, John. It's almost 8:30 here. My wife had dinner ready for me an hour ago, and so I wanna make sure I get some family time before I go to bed.
Okay, we'll do two quick ones. So first is a question that we've been getting from some Kingdom 320 students. Jeff, one of the favorite things, my favorite things that Kingdom 320 does every year is we get together in person somewhere in Texas, somewhere central, and we spend a couple of days learning about real estate and also worshiping together in the same room. And I've been to Christian conferences and I've been to business events, but I've never been to one that was both. So that was such an incredible experience. But the question that we are getting is, do we have any, insights into the upcoming Dallas event? Have we released the dates yet, or are we about to? Where are we at with that?
We do have the hotel book. We do have the date set. We have not announced it. We have not released it yet. We will be shortly. But since we still have 202 people on this webinar, I know it's like almost 11 o'clock at night on the East Coast. I'll give you a little sneak peek here. So our annual event in Dallas, the dates are going to be announced soon, but the dates will be June 6th, 7th, and 8th. Actually in Frisco, Texas. We got a really nice hotel with a really reasonable room rate for attendees, no parking fees, many restaurants right within 2 minutes that you could walk to, and many different options for food and things like that. So yeah, we'll be announcing it soon. But yeah, that event is like, I mean, I've been a part of so many different events in my life, and I've never, even myself as the owner of the company, I've never experienced anything like that. I mean, last year especially, this will be our third one, but last year especially was so powerful. We had a prayer room. We brought in about 13, I think it was, intercessors and deliverance ministers, and we had prayer available. We had 555 people attend last year. And so we had this prayer room. We didn't know if anybody was going to utilize it or not, if 13, prayer warriors was too much or too little. But I think we had like 420 of the 555 attendees go through the prayer room and just have breakthrough in marriages, breakthrough in just, limiting beliefs and just, demonic spirits that were limiting them. And, it just was powerful. All while, learning how to invest in real estate. It was so it again, our culture always tries to divide, always tries to separate. Like, you go to church, you worship on Sunday, that's okay. Just go into your church and you worship. And then Monday through Saturday, you don't talk about that stuff, right? You just go to work. But there never was meant to be a separation. So we see people get saved at our events. We sometimes our first year we were baptizing people after the event. I mean, who knows what God's gonna do? But I'm excited to see what happens. So
That's
what
awesome.
about what?
One more question. We'll get to one of my favorite stories from, I think it was the first Dallas event, is a gentleman who had a brace on his foot, who we had some staff members and some students pray for him, and he got completely healed. God radically healed him in the hotel at a business event. So God wants to break out of the church and He wants to do things in the marketplace. Last question, Jeff. is going to be a big picture question here, but it's something that you and I have talked about a lot in the past couple of months, especially. But in business, uh, one of the things we do is we use money as a tool to promote God's kingdom, as you say. But I've seen so many Christians who start to make money become a slave to that money and kind of get corrupted by the money, where the money becomes their God. I can honestly say, have been the exception. You have continued to put people first. You have continued to put God first, and money is always the byproduct of that. But how do you keep that mindset with the temptation of wealth?
Yeah, that's a powerful question, and it's one that we all have to guard against. And I mean, just because I appreciate your comments about me, but um, it doesn't mean I'm immune to it moving forward, right? It's just money. It's the enemy's job to always, we talk about mortgages, right? First position, second position, all of that. God needs to be in the first position, but it's the enemy's job to knock him out of the first position. So the enemy is always trying to, whether it's mammon, whether it's money, whether it's greed, whether it's pornography, whatever it is, he's always trying to knock God out of that first position. And so, seeking God first, having a real relationship with Him, reading His Word, getting plugged into good local churches, um, you know, um, forgiving people that hurt us. I mean, those are like non-negotiables. But one of the most powerful ways that I've dealt with money, and like the spirit of mammon, like it's always trying to knock God out of that first position. And the enemy's at work when you're stressed out about money, when there's anxiety around money, when you're worried about it. And a lot of people think, when I was broke, I just thought, man, if I got a lot of money, all my problems would go away. It's not true. Success is harder to manage than failure, by far. So, but one of the ways I deal with money specifically, well, two ways, is you have to tithe. You have to tithe. 10% of your income needs to go to the local storehouse. It needs to go to a church. Then beyond that, we need to give. As Christians, we are at our best when we're living generous lives. And my wife and I, when we start feeling stressed about money, or we have, big decisions to make or things like that, or we just feel like, hey, like, we feel like, temptation around that, we just give money away. Um, and we do that just breaking its power. So again, money's just a tool. It's just a tool, and it's an incredible servant, but it's a horrible master. So I mean, those are some things, but it's really just, if you genuinely live the Christian life the way the Bible tells us to, you don't have anything to worry about. But you have to understand that but it's a fight. It's a fight. It's not. We live in a fallen, hostile world, and there's a battle of good and evil going on every single day. And it doesn't matter how good of a Christian we were up until today. Tomorrow is a whole nother story, right? So it's just like, people talk about getting saved and their life being transformed, and that happened to me. But the reality is, I need Jesus just as much today as I did on February 20th, 1999, when I first met him. So it's just that's what protects us ultimately. But this was great, John. I love answering these questions, and I would stay here even later, but I have a family that's probably already upset with me. But I appreciate I mean, especially everybody that's still on this call. I mean, my God, it's been a long time. It's late across the country, but I appreciate you investing your time with us, and I just pray you got value. You learned something, and again, go back to what I said at the beginning. What's one piece of action? What's your next step? Take it. What's one thing you're going to change? Change it. What's one thing you're going to teach? Teach. Take action, and then because especially teaching, was when you give away what God's given you, then He gives you more. So teach it. And if you're still on the call and if you haven't signed up for one of our intro calls, you're interested in learning about our program, learning about our software, all of that stuff, go to k320call.com. My team will take great care of you. God bless everybody. Have a great rest of the night. Thanks, John. Thanks, Nate, for helping out as always. I'll see everybody soon. God bless. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget, though, to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you're ready to take the next step and explore and learn more about the programs that we offer, how we help students, go ahead and click the link in the video description and book your free intro call with our team. You're going to love it. God bless you. I'll see you soon.